Okay. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this great event, great side event. You can be sure it's going to be the best of the whole COP. And I'm happy to moderate this session. Welcome to this event then organized by the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa and both ends. And we're going to discuss around key issues, talking about mechanisms that can help to advance agroecology across the world. And I would like to also to so I would like also to welcome our colleagues who are following online. So you are all welcome as well. And my name is Sena Luka. I come from Togo. I'm director of an NGO called Young Volunteer for the Environment. But I'm also very privileged to serve as the chair of the AFSA Climate Change Working Group. So we have a set of great speakers today and panelists ready to dive into the power of agroecology with a focus on three aspects. The first one is, of course, the role of agroecology in the negotiations. I hope some of you are following. We are in a very difficult situation in the negotiations with regard to the Sharm el-Sheikh work program on climate action in agriculture and food security. So they are going to dive into that. Also, we're going to discuss about the power of agroecology in practice. You know, agroecology is a movement, the practice is a science. So the practice part, we're going to discuss that. And now, how can we finance agroecology through very innovative financing mechanism? Which type of grant can we set up? We're going to discuss that as well in this very interesting event. So for the first session, I will be giving the chance to the coordinator, the general coordinator of AFSA, Mr. Belay, for his speaking remarks. Then I'll come back to tell you the rest of the program. Monsieur Million, please, let's put our hands together for Monsieur Belay.
Now, most funders, you know, bilateral and philanthropic, UN bodies, and everybody is talking about agroecology. But still there is a long way to go. And the negotiation on agroecology, on agriculture, rather, if you have participating in that, can tell you that agroecology has to go a long way. I think I will finish by saying that agroecology has three legs, as you know. One is practice, all the practical ways of doing agriculture. And that's what the people call when they talk about agroecology. Agroecology is a science, a cutting-edge science on plants and soil, on the social behavior, also on economy. So it's a science. And the last leg of agroecology is social movement. We need a movement because the current food system is controlled by the few. So that has to change. It has to go out of their hand and become people's agenda. And we're very happy that the food system and agriculture are at the center somehow of this COP. And I wish you a very good session. Thank you all.
In his village, they say, Amsganalo. I mean, thank you very much, Namarik. Thank you, Mr. Million. That was a very powerful statement. on the need of upscaling the good practice we can see across agroecology practitioners. So agroecology as climate change measures, exploring financial opportunities for agroecological practices in Africa. So as I said, I forgot to advise our colleagues, maybe some who may need a translation. So 0 is for English, 1 for French. I hope I'm correct. Otherwise, you switch 1 to 0, and then you find yourself somewhere. So as you can see, these are very competent panelists that we have today. Of course, I will be introducing them one by one, but only that Mr. Shoduri must leave earlier, so probably after just 1 or 2 speakers, we'll give him the chance to make his statement before leaving us. So now it's time to start digging into the topic why we are here today. I would like to start with Karen. They say, happy wife, happy life. And Karen is a real illustration of that. So Karen was born in an indigenous community in Western Kenya. She's a journalist by profession and naturally passionate about nature and culture. She's a human rights advocate and gender activist. She's a campaigner. Then she has present in various boards. Amazing. She's co-chairing the AFSA Climate Change Working Group. And she's also board member within BIBA. BIBA is Biosafety and Biodiversity Association of Kenya, but also ICE and Forest Action Network. Karen, you are supposed to have 7 minutes, but I give you 6.5. Please, Karen.
Can I speak from here?
You can.
I hope it's working. Yes, thank you very much, Moderator Senna. My name, as he has said, is Karen Nekesa, but I work for an organization called Regional Schools and Colleges Permaculture Program. It is a member organization of the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa. I am also here in my capacity as a co-chair of the Climate Change Working Group for the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa, and bringing in the youth perspectives, transitioning schools into agroecological practical guidance. But I also want to say that thank you, Million, for introducing this and introducing AFSA. We are here to represent over 200 million farmers, pastoralists, indigenous peoples, the young people, of course, women movements, and also other from 50 countries within 54 African countries. So I am going to talk about what we have been doing as a campaign through the Climate Change Working Group under the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa. And the issue here is transitioning into agroecology. But for us as a working group, and we have other working groups that are working closely with us within the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa. One of it is land. We have a citizens working group. We also have a very important working group, which is SEED. And we all connect and reach out to people and to be able to transition this agroecology into climate and agricultural policies. But we do this and we have a goal. We have a goal for this, overall goal, which is to have climate and agriculture policies across Africa reflect the food sovereignty demands of the citizens. And then, of course, as we do this, we are within 50 African countries, and so we are looking at scaling up national and regional level mobilization and networking, and that's the reason we are here also at this COP, just to ensure that we push for this agenda at this level. And also we have to include and influence the inclusion of agroecology into climate and agriculture policies at different levels. When I say different levels, I'll talk about national, regional, and also global level. But as we do that again, it is very important to talk about educating, awareness creation. There are so many people doing this, so many allies doing this, so many organizations and member organizations of the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa doing this through the Climate Change Working Group. We also work now within 12 African countries just to ensure that agroecology is integrated in the agriculture and climate change policies. Of course, we've got so many accomplishments, and one of it, main one, is what brings us here today at this COP, is inclusion of agroecology in the agriculture negotiations. And we are making a milestone on this, of course. There's a lot of bilateral meetings with the African group of negotiators, our political representatives at national level, but also here, just looking for allies to ensure that we lobby them to have this as one of the future topics. So as we speak, that is ongoing. and we are hopeful that it is going to appear in the agriculture negotiations. So at the national level as well, I will not skip this. It's very important for all of us. We have some countries who are developing agroecology national strategies, and within those national strategies, we have either districts or counties that they're working within. So it's very important to push for this case study of Kenya. Kenya has one county that has already launched the agroecology policy at the county level. County level could be also meaning the district from your country, depending on your country context. So this means that people are taking it over, and because also it really advocates for diversification and issues of indigenous knowledge. So what we also really have to advocate for is to work together, coordinate. So we have a lot of CSO trainings within the African countries that we're working with. And also with this, as we do this, we have media engagements, and people who are really passionate to report on agroecology. And this is one way of influencing our policymakers at different levels. So we do not want to leave anyone behind when we are transitioning to the issue, unpack the issue of agroecology. And now it is now being discussed, even in COPs. I hear the indigenous people talking about it, YOUNGO talking about it, the gender group talking about it. So it is something that we have really worked towards to ensure that it is strengthened at all levels. But the relationship with all of you is also very important. That is the reason we are having all of you here listening to us, so that we can continue pushing this agenda and ensuring that everybody understands what we are talking about. For me, I say agroecology to me is just common sense. It's what we know, and it's what we are doing. So it is very important to really work together. Now, when we talk about that are here, we really want to advance this narrative of agroecology.
Karen and Mary has shown us that
being shared amongst men as well as women. In fact, we provided 50% subsidies to the women for them to purchase technological equipment to further strengthen their practices. It's an example of where we have brought money from Jeff. We have invested our own loan. We have invested money from TNC. And the most important bit is now it has become a water fund that is being run by the private sector. Why did this happen? Because of the demonstration effect. The private sector started realizing there's actually quantitative benefits and a return on this investment. So I'll stop here, but just wanted to flag that it is important for us to also ensure that there's a demonstration effect, we can scale this up, and eventually it can be sustainable. Thank you very much. I have another event to attend, so I have to leave.
Okay. But we clap again for Mr. Jahan. That was thank you very much. Thank you. Say hi to behalf. Good.
Thank you very much for promoting us. That are being adapted now to move towards an agroecological transformation. And then the issue of financing. Indeed, this is a cornerstone of a successful transformation. And before I embark on the financing issue, I want to introduce a context about the Agroecology Coalition, because it has a fairly recent history, since 2021 only, and we today have already 47 countries that have joined the coalition and 160 organizations. And I'd like to invite those countries and organizations that are not yet member but are engaged in an agroecological transformation to also join forces, because together we will be much stronger. And I'm very pleased to see that several of the people around here are already active members of the coalition, including playing key roles in the coalition itself. It has 5 working groups, one on research, innovation and education, one on policies that is engaged also in advocacy work, one on financing and investment, one on communication, and one on implementation, that is sharing best practices, sharing experience, the learnings from what has happened on the ground. And I want to come back to the particular aspect of finance and what the financing and investment working group has started to do. There have been some efforts that were led by the Global Alliance for the Future of Food and the Agroecology Fund that started in 2020 to facilitate discussions among donors, bilateral, multilateral, and philanthropic donors. And I have been facilitating this informal group that met on a regular basis. And this, there's been a tremendous increase in participation from different types of donors in that. In our first meeting, that was actually in 2019, there were 12 people around the table. In 2020, it was 20. And last October, we had a convening bringing together not only the bilateral, multilateral, and philanthropic donors, but also development banks and private investors. And we had 70 people around the table with a real commitment to not only engage in investing more, but also in investing better. And what we heard from the IFAD colleague about blending, it is really looking at improving the efficiency of investments by looking how to complement loans by development banks, for example, with grants from bilateral, multilateral donors, larger grants to governments, but also by philanthropic foundations, maybe mainly the GEF small grants facility, etc., that are supporting the grassroots organizations. And to that extent, the Agroecology Fund is setting up regional funds, especially to support the grassroots organizations, the real actors on the ground in East Africa and in West Africa. So there are things happening, and I want to convey a more positive message that things are changing. There is still a lot more that needs to happen. There is still far too much money going to the wrong type of agriculture. Many countries are still spending sometimes the majority of their agricultural budget in fertilizer subsidies. That must stop. It's not that we need much more money. If we already allocated properly the money that is invested today in the wrong direction, if we invested that to facilitate an agroecological transformation, we would already go a very long way. But there is also hope on the climate side. You mentioned already that the Green Climate Fund is recognizing agroecology, and they are in the process here in Africa of setting up an initiative to accelerate catalytic finance to scale a portfolio of regenerative agroecological landscapes across Africa. And that is really to blend Green Climate Fund, maybe with some Global Environment Facility fund as well, and private investors that want to invest in sustainability. So there is real hope that things will be changing, but that will also require the political recognition, including in these negotiations. And I do understand that there has been a reluctance about using specific terms and be directive. I would encourage the negotiators to be blunt, because the tactics that are being used to say, well, we can't really privilege one terminology versus the other, is a way of avoiding any commitments and creating space for greenwashing. That is what is behind it. And I think there are now many countries in all continents, in the north and in the south, that recognize the power and the potential of agroecology to address these multiple challenges. And I think we should be pushing. I would really urge the negotiators to push for the terminology, because agroecology is the only term that has been internationally agreed. The 10 elements of agroecology of FAO have been agreed by FAO and its member countries. They've been translated in the 13 principles that have the same content, That is what should guide our transformation, because they address not only issues regarding agricultural practices, but also the social dimension, participation, fairness, social equity, co-innovation. I think if you ask somebody which of the 13 principles they would disagree with, it would be difficult to find somebody that says, I don't agree with fairness, or I don't agree with participation. So let's be blunt, and let's ask for a recognition. Call it what you want, but let's call for the implementation of these principles. And I think if those are inserted in the text, that will also facilitate the financing of the work done in that. So I thank you for the opportunity to be with you here.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup, Doctor. That was very powerful. And I think we have another B here. Be blunt. Tell them clearly. Yeah, it's very, very important. And I will tweet right after this from Dr. Emil Friesen, too much more money going to the wrong agriculture. That's a quote I will tweet just right now after this. Thank you very much for making those points very clearly. We have the very good last speaker, and then we'd love to have one question. But anyway, we have the chance to have Madame Shamarina Angelica, 35 years of experience in professional and academic teaching, support communities. She's the climate change advisor within the JEF program that UNDP is running. And guess what? She's managing portfolio for 136 countries. I don't know how she's doing that alone. Not alone. If it's a table you know, I can come and support you. And she's supervising the work in several countries, Africa, Latin, Caribbean, all over. Amazing. Madame Shamarina, you have the floor. But question here is, we would like to hear your thought as well on the perspective from the SGP, the Small Grant Program. How are you supporting agroecology right now? And in the future, is there any plan to, announce a big $3 trillion money for agroecology?
I'd love to. That's the donors. We implement. But no, thank you very much. A bit less, 25 years, but it's okay. I take it. And I'm not alone. Of course, we have a wonderful team of national coordinators on the ground, as well as our focal point in Africa, based in Addis, Marie-Laure, who is actually a lead on agroecology and gave me great inputs for that. So I'm not alone, but I want to say that agroecology, we've been supporting specifically agroecology already, which we named, being blunt, we named within our land degradation portfolio. As you know, being a JEF program, we're implemented by UNDP, but funded by JEF. We are working in the JEF focal areas, which is land degradation, biodiversity, of course, and climate. Because in the community, you cannot really distinguish those. So as you know, on the ground, it's all the same challenge. You can't really divide it into silos like as we do for the financing. And so under our sustainable land management, specifically agroecological approach is actually written in a title even of our initiative. So that's one. And in fact, we had a review of projects from 2011 to 21, which revealed that agroecology is one of the main focus and actually main activity that we support, including beekeeping, small-scale farming, landscape approaches, integrated coffee, cocoa farming, and so on. So we are supporting, and it's all around the world, actually. And lately, we've been in the maybe last 5 years or so, we've been focusing in the next 4 years of our funding cycle, we hope to focus on socio-ecological production systems, on particular commodities, staples to improve food security, food sovereignty. Indigenous knowledge, everything that colleague here, Mamadou, was saying actually applies to us, all of those lessons. And we know we need to simplify access to funding, which is sometimes difficult given donor requirements, we know. But we do work the same, we do work on the ground. And one, I want to say also, maybe address a few things about how it's contributing to climate. As I said, it's one challenge, basically. What it does in our case most is resilience, community resilience. Without that, we cannot speak of adaptation, we cannot speak on recovery, loss and damage. We recently looked at some loss and damage examples from our portfolio to make a brochure because we, for the debate, to advocate for community-based funding. We didn't go into political fund, but to advocate for more community-based funding for that. And guess what? A lot of those projects are, in fact, agroecology projects, seed conservation, very important, native knowledge, native seeds, supporting traditional knowledge. There's an example from Africa in Cabo Verde of women taking lead, improving their food security and conserving seeds, just for example, in a vulnerable seeds country, in the context of loss and damage, and many others. We're also supporting an exchange program called Initiative Climat, which is peer-to-peer exchange in Francophone Africa, which on various climate technologies, a lot of them are actually agroecological approaches, seed banks and many others. What I wanted to say also, another very short point, because I know we are very short of time, is on financing. Indeed, we are small grants up to $50,000, so we need bigger and bigger, right? Because very often the GCF funds, and here I have example from Caribbean, not from Africa, however, a country of Dominica, which suffered from devastating storm, basically everything was ruined. The funding did come, specifically from GCF, however, communities could not access. So we actually, being on the ground, stepped in, helping communities to learn by doing and to start from small budgets, and then go to a larger GCF funds administered by the government. So we have models, and that's needed. This small grant stage is very much needed, but also bigger funding is needed. For private sector, same thing. Obviously, private sector is not able to maybe fund individual cooperatives. Very difficult. Again, example I have from Latin America, from Belize, where we're collaborating with a facility created by Coral Fund, funded by Coral Fund, with private sector putting money to support businesses that support corals, specifically seaweed farming, for example, and some others. Basically, what we do is we try to prepare those small cooperatives so that they can access some of the funding and bundle them together and to access some of the funding. We'll see the results. This is just started now. This is a new... Just today I had a meeting with Zimbabwe, a delegate who is representing private sector, and he asked me, how can private sector help in Africa? We want to improve the farming. He comes from non-for-profit, and now the bank has a mandate and also GCF accreditation and mandate to do ESG, corporate governance in Zimbabwe. So how can we support? We talked about some models. We're trying to also support farmers in Nigeria, shea butter production, also in the same way, very community focused, but then again, bring a little bit of private sector funding, so to make this bridge. So completely agree with that and the colleague here. What else we are going to do is, we are going to, in next year, in 24, to undertake a mapping, that's what Marie-Laure, my colleague, will lead on that, of community-led projects that we have, and to see what agroecological solutions can be identified and advocate, again, for highlighting those solutions. And actually based on this mapping, we are hoping to work with the donors and see how this could be integrated in our landscape conservation, how agroecology can be more prominent. So, because in many countries, this is the main thing we support, on climate and on land degradation and on conservation, because obviously agriculture is part of a landscape. So basically agroecology is everything, right? That's just a short intervention I wanted to present our program.
Señorita Angelina, muchas gracias. That was a very strong intervention as well to show how the small grant program I don't know why they call it small, but it's because it's making. Next time,
127
change it to big, okay? But that was great to hear from you, and you have very good quotes. But because of the time, I'm not going into that. But I think we have learned a lot from this session. We learned from the figures. We learned from the 34 agriculture is playing football against climate 34. And we learned from the 4 keys, building, blending, benefit sharing, and bundling. We hear from Be Blunt. We hear from Karen said, we have the research, we have the science. And Dr. Emil said, go for it. Put agroecology in the text. You know? So thank you very much. I wish we had time for questions, but no, we have questions, but after we finish. So they will cut everything, the power, the video in 2 minutes. Karen, Mary, and Monsieur Mamadou, 1 minute each. Please make it like a quote. Karen, what will be your quote for the day?
Yes, thank you, Senna. It's a pleasure. I think we have the opportunity, and let's go for it now. Thank you.
Let's go for it. Mary.
The transformation is needed to agroecology. It will not happen drastically, but the steps has been put in place. And we have to put farmers at the center of all this discussion and funds to be channeled to smallholder farmers to accelerate the transition. Thank you.
Funds to the smallholder farmers. I'm tweeting, guys. Very good quote tonight. Monsieur Mamadou, the citation, the belle citation. Good quote from you.
I think we need to promote collaborative approach with the principle of inclusivity, sustainability, in order to promote a fair financial process.
Good. Inclusivity, affordability. From Dr. Jahan, from IFAD, Karen from RESCOPE, Mary from Pelham, Dr. Emil from the Agroecology Coalition, Madame Angelina from the Small Grant Program of Jeff, and Mr. Mamadou from IED Senegal. I hope the Small Grant Program in Senegal will start very soon, so that you go scale to Togo first. Good. And then we have Dr. Kimoro, scientist from Kenya. A lot to do. I don't know how you call those jargons. In the informers, between today and the end, please make sure we have something in on agriculture, in both the cover test, but also, who knows, on the Sharm el-Sheikh document on agroecology and agriculture and food security. But again, thank you very much. And please, you have the QR code for those who have a good phones, not mine. Please, capture this, you have everything you need, and then we need to put our hands together for AFSA, for both ends, for Pelham, for IED, from IFAD, from Agroecology Coalition, from the Jeff, and for myself. Whether it's there or not, I hope you know the song. We can't go without our song. We know the song, right? La 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 la. For those who don't know the song, so it's agroecology we are singing, but every time we sing, we leave one letter out. From agroecology, it becomes groecology. You leave the A out. La 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 la. Are you ready? Yes. 1, go. Agroecology, groecology, roecology, oecology, ecology, cology, ology, logy, ogy, gy. Merci beaucoup. Bonne soirée. We have some snacks from Togo. Stay and shop the snack with us. Thank you very much.